this morning press conference by the Muslim leaders. This is a culmination of a process that was initiated 2 weeks ago by the leading Muslim organization in this country, in which a technical team was established to look at the report when it was presented and later on launched by His Excellency the President of the Republic of Kenya at the Bomas of Kenya. And I begin the report, Bismillah, the statement, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. The Muslim leadership lauds the efforts of His Excellency the President of the Republic of Kenya and the former Prime Minister in the escalating growing political hostilities in the country and moving the country toward realization of long-term peace and economic development. The handshake identified key causes that is stopping our country from realizing her full potential, and indeed, these causes are not new. They have been bedeviling our country since independence. The BBI task force was tasked with gathering views of Kenyans on specific areas of concern, and based on the findings, was to suggest the required solutions and changes, including possible constitutional, legal, administrative, and other measures that may be required to be undertaken. Changes are necessary because almost 10 years after the promulgation of the 2010 Constitution, we are still saddled with the same nation-wrecking issues: ethnic competition for power, cronyism, impunity, rampant corruption and looting of national resources, and marginalization. The BBI report contains a number of observations and suggestions. It has picked up issues from many existing reports and research papers, however, without acknowledging the sources, without capturing the depth of the research and analysis contained in the reports, and failed to grasp the possible solutions suggested by such reports. Further, the collection of views by the task force, by its own admission, as a low threshold of public participation in comparison with the previous efforts of this magnitude. It gathered views from only 7,000 individuals and institutions. We note that the report contains a potpourri of recommendations that require a range of different interventions, including constitutional amendments, statutory action, policy formulation and administration, and administrative actions. The mix of interventions will surely leave Wanjiku baffled with what precisely needs to be done. The report admits that further processes need to be done, in particular further interrogation, consultations and technical work, including developing a constitutional bill or bills to amend the constitution, developing a legislative agenda that may address the development of new laws, amendment of existing laws, change in existing policies, administrative frameworks, and restructuring of some state institutions. However, the report did not give any indication of what the next process will entail and what vehicle is required to do it, what it had recommended. We also note that some of its recommendations would result in glow back to the gains made by the 2010 Constitution. The suggested reconfiguration of the executive power is a throwback to the single-party era of the imperial presidency. There are no tangible proposals on taming runaway corruption. There were no recommendations on improving the electoral system and ensuring electoral justice. The report actually seeks a retention of unworkable fast past and the post system. Other alarming suggestions are on the issues that were decisively rejected during the Bomas process, and the recommendations for their inclusion is clearly an attempt to take away gains of the 2010 Constitution. There are also introduction of highly contentious and acceptable issues that may lead to the state interference on religious institutions and the institution of the family. The proposals made by Muslims to BBI team on the key issues were ignored, including our proposal to have an appellate structure where matters before the Qadi's court can be adjudicated on appeal considering Islamic principles. Like all Kenyans, we have been looking forward to yet another mechanism to take up the next stage of BBI, which entails setting up of a mechanism to further undertake the highly technical work highlighted by the BBI report in the next steps. We are taken aback by the proposal of the extension of the BBI task force, whose tenure has expired and the report handed over. We expect the establishment of a technical team to review the BBI report, since the BBI task force cannot review their set positions objectively. The process must be and must also be seen to be credible, fair, transparent, and proper. The composition of BBI task force team comprised of state officers and public officers who stand in potential conflict of interest. Their presence indicates a real or perceived lack of independence and may lend credence to the fear that the proposed amendments are for the benefit of the ruling class and in sharing power and positions instead of the benefit of the Kenyan people. The appointment of BBI task force team excluded the Muslim clergy, and its composition did not meet the minimum constitutional requirement. In addition, the next steps in the process requires persons of high technical abilities and integrity. We are concerned that the revival of the tenure of the BBI task force fraught with possible legal landmines and legitimacy questions, and may end up creating new fault lines in the country. We urge His Excellency the President of the Republic of Kenya, President Uhuru Kenyatta, to put in place a technical team to steer the process, duly ensuring the adoption of an inclusive and participatory process, and we must jealously guard against further divisions and glow back of the gains of 2010 Constitution. As Muslims, we are committed to working with fellow Kenyans to build a nation based on justice, peace, and the well-being of individual communities and the nation. Thank you.
Review on behalf of all Muslims of Kenya is saying is that they congratulate the BBI task force for doing what? For saying we have a problem in Kenya, let us fix it. So it is up to us now. They have done their job. It is up to us now to fix it. Us means you and me. It is going to go to the people, talk about what they have raised, what they have not raised, okay, and come with something. So they have done a job, and let me tell you, mtu hajulikani kwake. What we have done is a good job, and we have done this before and people don't seem to recognize. We had one time a contested election between Raila and Kibaki, and Kofi Annan came here, they joined and worked together. The whole world was saying, how did they do that? There was a time that Rift Valley, there was people were fighting, and in a short time, they saw Uhuru and Ruto coming from two communities that were killing one another, working together like twins. And now there was contestation in the recent elections, and they saw Raila and Uhuru. And this BBI, we should be saying it is a blessing, and let us grasp it, use it to see what is there. We need to correct what is not there, we put in, and that's the general picture of what we are saying. We are happy they have done it, and it's our job now. Let us not keep just blaming and wanting them to do again. I can assure you, if you write, the one who wrote this document, if you give somebody, if you tell him to correct it, he will still leave some mistakes. But when I look at it, straight away I see I mistake myself. So we would rather that other people look at what has been done by BBI, say you missed this, you did this good, and then they go ahead. So generally that is the picture.